Yo, what's up? I am sitting here in the Boston airport before my flight, recording this podcast at 7:20 in the morning. Um, it's a beautiful day. I'm heading to Toronto to visit some fam, but let's get down to business. We're talking football, and we're talking some insane stuff. So, at some point in this podcast, I'm gonna insert this rant that I did or that I made right after the Barca Atletico game, and it has a lot of good points. And if you can ignore a little bit of the profanities mixed with the anger behind what I say, there's a lot of good information on there. So I'm gonna insert that at some point. Alright, it's windy as fuck right now, so I don't know how well this is gonna turn out. But I needed to fucking talk about the game today. And Barcelona. I've been watching them, everyone has, for the past 3-4 weeks, and the fucking thing about them is every time they go through a phase where they have a slump in form, they just go on a downward spiral. And this has been a trend that's been going on with them for the past 4 years, I'd say. The big fucking thing I've realized about Barcelona, for all the great compliments and shit that have been given to them this season, the past few seasons and stuff, is they are the most one-dimensional team. They are so easy to figure out because they have only one style of play, and that style of play is really admirable, which is why they get all the plaudits that they do. But from a practical perspective, they need a fucking plan B. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a plan B, what are you gonna fucking do when your first fucking thing doesn't work out? And Atletico showed, Sociedad showed, Real showed, everyone has fucking showed this season how vulnerable Barcelona can be. And as a fan, that is fucking pissing off. What the fuck were they doing today? Like, we've got only one plan. Play the ball up to fucking MSN and see what they have to do. Yes, we've got 3 of the world's best players in the fucking world. That's understandable, but the game has to be played from a much different tactical standpoint. What the fuck was that I just saw? Messi literally looked lost. I was thinking about possible solutions to the way Barcelona can play that'll maybe allow them what Luis Enrique maybe could have done, and I'm sure he might have thought about this because he's a fucking manager of the world's biggest fucking team in the world. But I feel like what he could have done differently was, and if you look at the way Barcelona play, when they defend, they've got only 7 players max behind the ball, not including the goalkeeper. Because the front 3 just stay up front. And that style of play has been very rewarding. We've scored a bunch of goals this season. And it comes off really well from an entertaining point of view. But if you looked at Atletico, first of all, today, when they defended all 11 players back. And when they were pressing up front, they were 5 players up front, pressing like you've never seen before. So much energy, so much passion. Unbelievable stuff to see. But when you look at Barcelona, sort of played into it, because when they were defending and when Atletico were pressing Barcelona in Barcelona's half, Barca literally didn't have another option but to either play a long ball or to throw or kick the ball off an Atletico player into a throw-in. And the problem with that is it's frustrating, and Simeone knew that, and he exploited it really, really fucking well. But the problem is what Barcelona could have done from an innovative standpoint, and I still don't understand why and Luis Enrique didn't have any tactical to make any tactical tweaks this game was he could have easily just played Messi in the hole that links the three midfielders, Busquets, Iniesta, and Rakitic, to Suarez and Neymar up front. Messi could have played the whole. Everyone knows he's good at distributing the balls. We even saw that he has the energy to defend when he in that one chance where he tracked Ferreira Carrasco all the way fucking back and got dispossessed him. We know what Messi can do, and I just don't understand why sometimes these managers aren't willing to be a little more practical. Simeone, I think sometimes he's too practical, but that's a biased opinion. Like his tactics again in the Camp Nou pissed me the fuck off because he was so aggressive, and he just fucking asked his players to go ahead and annihilate every one of us, and that really fucking pissed me off. But from a practical point of view, it worked well. They got the away goal. All they needed to do was make sure we don't score, which they're anyway really good at because they've conceded like 14 goals this season in all competitions or something ridiculous like that. So Barcelona needed to do something innovative in order to get something out of this game. They couldn't just rely on Atletico to fuck up because they don't fuck up. They very rarely fuck up as a team, and it's just so fucking frustrating and so annoying to see shit like this go down and not see any solution in the near horizon or in the near future. You know, I literally don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm just fuming. I'm like I was thinking about this earlier today. Everything that I've done to sort of get my head in check, like with the meditation, I try to keep control of my emotions and like I try not to overly let my ego get involved with certain things. Just goes out the window and I watch football and it's fucking hilarious. Like my identity is tied to this sport and I'm too fucking involved that it's just impossible for me to get my emotions out of this stuff. And watching today's game really like pissed me the fuck off. I had a huge plan to study and do all this like shit that will help me in my life, but god fucking damn it. There's really not much more to say. It's a beautiful day outside, so I'm just gonna go enjoy this. But there's so much to cover. I'm gonna stick to this, to the Champions League and Europa League results for now, before I move on to just a little bit of a preview. But most of it is gonna be focused on the Champions League and the Europa League. So let's just get down to it. Barca Atletico. Now that it's been a few days, I can sort of give it a more objective view. Atletico were way better. There's they were hungry, driven, and they just wanted it a lot more than Barca did, which was crazy to see. Like Barcelona just looked a little lost, and I was talking to a friend during the game about how I think that Barcelona just don't have a plan B. Their style of play is just so one dimensional, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because you have Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, like three of the best players in the world, in your team. So your style of play just involves passing it to them and letting them do their magic, and that's good. But you can't rely on that. You need a plan B. What do you do when your access routes are cut off? And Enrique, to me, he struck me as a pragmatist, but I don't really. I haven't been able to see that the last few weeks when Barca have been in the slump. So that was interesting to see. I think uh, there need to be some changes made. Not anything drastic, and I don't think managerial changes are needed right now. But I think there needs to be some tactical tweaks that Luis Enrique makes. He needs to assess, and I'm sure he's doing all this. I think what I really like about him the most is he's very, very honest in his assessment. in his view about things. And as a fan, I'm happy to see that, and now that the emotion has died down a bit, I think we'll come back from this bigger and better. Real, they were always gonna go through, so it's no big deal. Like everyone's raving about Ronaldo's hat trick and all this stuff, and yeah, he scored a hat trick, and it is a big deal, but I don't think it was anything special. Wolves, they've got. I don't want to blame everything on the luck of the draw, but as I'm recording this, the Champions League draw has been made, and they've been uh, put up against Man City, which amongst the three remaining teams is arguably the easiest team to face because they've never been up in this stage before. They've had an inconsistent season. Atletico just look deadly and brutal and efficient in their game, while Bayern are Bayern and Real are Real. So I think Real again they have the luck of the draw on their side, which is a little annoying as someone who isn't a Real fan. But they were always going to go through. I watched the highlights of the game. Ramos hit the bar a couple of times. So even if Ronaldo didn't have this hat trick or didn't get this hat trick, they would have probably snuck through. And like I said in the previous week's podcast about how it's impossible almost to keep Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema, and all these big players in check for 2 games in a row. And this week you sort of see that in the way they perform and the way Ronaldo performed specifically. Um, let's move on to Benfica Bayern. That was a good game. Bayern took the lead, but then Benfica came back, and before Bayern sort of, just shut the door on them. And they were always going to go through again. Like I said again last week, it's the hope that really kills you as a fan. And Benfica and Wolfsburg fans had to go through that this week when they were sort of brought back down to reality. And it's a little sad that the money that is involved in today's game is sort of just like ruling who goes through. But that's the way of the world, so you can't really complain and you can't really do much about it, and there's no point wallowing in it. It was overall a good two-legged tie, very competitive. Hats off to Benfica. They've really outperformed this season there. I think they're up in the Portuguese league, number one, first spot. So they're doing pretty well. Um, they've always been competitive in the European standards, but I don't think they've ever really done this in the Champions League. So it's good to see that. It's good to see some lesser known, smaller name teams make their way and challenge some of the authority. The last game, Man City PSG. This one was completely wronged my prediction. I said that PSG are gonna be hard to, are probably not gonna perform badly 2 games in a row, and I was proven wrong again, because yes, City were good, but they weren't anything special. I wouldn't say they did outperform PSG on the day, but I think it was only because PSG didn't perform to their potential, which is crazy to me because they've got such a great team. Cavani, Lucas. What blew my mind a little bit was Laurent Blanc and the formation that he started and the players that he chose. Like he started Serge Aurier in a 3-man defense. This guy's been off form. He's been sort of ostracized from the team for his comments that he's made. And Laurent Blanc like literally bites his own tongue and and makes this decision. And I can understand being pragmatic to a level, but this was just taken to a whole other level. And I think I've sort of lost respect for him a little bit for going against his own word. And the result of it all sort of vindicates me for this feeling. It was just crazy. Ibra was probably PSG's best player on the day, but he had like two chances, and they both came from free kicks. I think he was the one who scored the goal to make it 2-1. So I don't know. I was bitterly disappointed by that result because City don't deserve to be there. Let's be real. They don't deserve to be there. They've had a very inconsistent season. They've had the luck of the draw again, but again, it's a little silly to just keep saying the luck of the draw. But they have had an easy draw before this with Kiev, and in my mind, they're not one of the four best European teams in Europe right now. So they don't deserve to be there. But at the same time, this is what the Champions League and this is what the Europa League does. It keeps you on the edge. It makes it exciting. The way the tournament's structured is it there is an element of unpredictability to it all, which is why it's so hard to retain the Champions League. And that is why this is such an amazing sport and it's such an amazing spectacle. And just as a segue, I want to use what we just talked about to and apply to the Europa League because Liverpool Dortmund, what a game! What a bloody game that was! Dortmund came out all guns blazing to shut the Liverpool fans up. And they did it. They did it in the first 10 minutes. They got the two goals that they needed. And they were on top. But it's a testament to this Liverpool side that they just don't give up. And I think that is Klopp. I know that is Klopp because it's all him. When you have a manager who's as inspiring as Klopp or even Simeone, it doesn't matter if you don't have as much quality as your opposition. And again, Atletico and Liverpool prove that. Dortmund are a better team, if player for player. They've had a better season than Liverpool, but Klopp is just so inspiring. I read this thing about his halftime speech that he gave, where he told his players to give, go out there and give something that they could tell their grandchildren about. And what do you really say to that? How can you really not live up to such a speech? And you sort of contrast that with a little bit of contrast that with Louis Van Gaal, who is just a fucking idiot. Like he's so lethargic. He has no passion for the game, and he does have passion for the game. That's not the right thing to say, but he doesn't let that passion consume him the way Simeone does and the way Klopp does, and that passion just oozes off him, and the fans can sense that. And if you listened to the stadium in the Atletico Barca game, the Vicente Calderon was bumping. I've never heard a crowd so involved and just so I can't think of the word, but so involved in the game. When you're playing on the field and you have that support of the fans, it's literally like a 12th man. You have an extra player on the pitch, and that's why stadiums like the Signal Iduna Park, which is the Dortmund away stadium, Dortmund home stadium, and the Stadio Sao Paulo, which is the Napoli home stadium, are so feared because of the fans, and they just get on your back as an away team. They get on your back as a home team, and it's sort of a wave of support. And Anfield was like that. This game, Liverpool 4-3. What a game! 4 second half goals. I honestly didn't expect that at all.
tip my hat to them, and that's hard for me to do because I just despise Liverpool. But I have some begrudging respect right now towards them because of the fact that they have Klopp, and that is so pissing off as a United fan, because we've got an idiot like Van Gaal who literally fucks with our emotions a little bit. One day we perform like the way we did against West Ham away, with these youngsters running out of their skin, attacking, using the flanks. We were direct. We were going straight for the soul. And then you have a performance against Spurs where we literally had no idea what we were doing. And what is a little disappointing to see is that we had Mata on the bench when we could have in the game against West Ham. And I don't know if that's a factor. I think the pragmatist and the brutal dictator that Van Gaal is just going to see that. He's not going to see anything else. He's just going to see that, oh, I left Matt on the bench and we won 2-1 away. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And Herrera was on the field, which I'm happy about. But you just have to play your players in their right positions. Lingard was moved out to the wing and Herrera was playing in the center, and just that's it. Play Mata in the center and see what happens. It's going to be magic. So, I guess the overarching theme about all what I'm saying is passion and raw emotion and raw energy in the sport is important, and I'd say it's even paramount to anything else. And Klopp and Simeone this week proved it. And as much as I'm disappointed by the week's results and the way things have gone, I can't be mad for a prolonged period of time just because of the managers at the helm of it all. And yeah, that's about it. Just before I conclude this and end this, I want to talk a little bit about this week's fixtures. We've got some decent ones coming up. Prem's going to be interesting again. West Ham away to Leicester. West Ham have had better away performances, but it's going to be hard to predict this one. I still think Leicester are going to take it, but you really never know with this West Ham team. They've really impressed me this season. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Meanwhile, in the La Liga, we've got Barcelona hosting Valencia, and this isn't a foregone conclusion because first off, Gary Neville isn't Valencia's manager anymore, so it isn't a guaranteed loss for them. But I'm worried about Barcelona. They really need to pick it up a little bit and come out all guns blazing, show the fans that they're not affected by this, and show the fans that they still have some fight in them. Because the last four, 5 fixtures that they've played overall in all competitions, they've sort of been figured out. If you cut off supply to the front three, the El Tridente, we've got some problems. So I want Barcelona to come out all guns blazing. If they face a brick wall in the form of the Valencia defense, they adapt to that, and that's what I want to see more than anything else. So we'll see what happens. I will be back hopefully Monday or Tuesday, depending on how I feel and depending on how much time I have. But I will be back in the next week, wrapping up all of the results. I know I didn't do a wrap up of the results from the past weekend, but I think I'm gonna play this podcast by ear as of now. Do it more out of when I actually have something to say versus out of necessity. So, as always, leave some comments, feedback. Love to hear more thoughts. And yeah, have a good weekend, guys. I will see you all soon. Cheers.